Celebrating 50 years of major television events, this is ITV1, and they don't come much bigger than Formula One, where now Fernando Alonso is shopping for a world championship in Spa.
The lights are out, they're off!
They're really close, it's going to be tight!
F1 on ITV, sponsored by LG.
The highs and lows of Formula One are never more apparent than here at Soggy Spa. In 3 hours' time, Fernando Alonso could reach the cherished summit, crowned world champion at just 24. Fernando Alonso is powering towards the title. The small man from Spain is making a big splash. The championship is his for the taking. But lurking over his shoulder is his only remaining rival, the breathtakingly quick Kimi Raikkonen. Locked in a personal duel, Raikkonen has a lot of catching up to do if he's to overtake Alonso, but his McLaren has been electrifying. Let battle recommence.
There are possibilities to win. If Kimi retires here, I think I have the first possibility. So, I think I have to race a little more, thinking in the championship.
Hopefully we can still win it. It's not going to be easy and we need some luck, but we try to do the best what we can and hopefully we fight under the last laps in this year.
As we've come to expect in Spa, it's wet here in the Ardennes. Formula One's most testing circuits just got harder. It's the Belgian Grand Prix from Spa-Francorchamps. Good afternoon and welcome to Spa. Today could be the day that the history books are rewritten, that Fernando Alonso becomes the youngest ever Formula One champion. It could just happen. One thing is for sure this weekend, though, with the news that came from the paddock last night, that Minardi is to be bought by Red Bull, and we'll have more news on that later. But Fernando Alonso's target is clear. He leads the race to the title by 27 points. Were he to score 4 more points than his only remaining rival Kimi Raikkonen today, then he'd add the mantle of youngest ever champion to those of youngest on pole and youngest Grand Prix winner. The 24-year-old would beat Emerson Fittipaldi's record set this weekend back in 1972 by 18 months and jump above such great names as Michael Schumacher, Niki Lauda and Jacques Villeneuve. But Renault aren't likely to have it all their own way this weekend because McLaren qualified 1 and 2 on the grid and Kimi Raikkonen is hunting down Alonso for the driver's title.
It's the first time for a decade that Michael Schumacher has come to Spa not part of the championship fight. But the old stager didn't lack any commitment on his flying lap. He was a second faster than teammate Rubens Barrichello and he slots in 6th on the grid. After a poor showing at Monza last weekend, BAR Honda thought they might be troubling the Renaults here this weekend. It's not worked out that way so far, and instead they find themselves behind the Toyotas. Takuma Sato lines up 10th, Jenson Button 8th. But he believes he'll be much stronger in the Grand Prix this afternoon.
I had huge locking problems this morning in practice, front tyres. I was locking into the first corner and also into the bus stop. So it's been a nightmare, so I've come straight from practice to qualifying. So I was probably a little bit too cautious under braking, but it's okay.
Jarno Trulli has qualified in the top 5 13 times this season, and here he outdid himself with another stunning lap, particularly if you consider that he's running a wet setup, 10 miles an hour slower on the straights than the Renaults. Third on the grid for Jarno.
Honestly talking, our strategy is more about, and also the car setup is more about wet than dry. Today we managed to deal with it, and tomorrow we should be even better probably.
Kimi Raikkonen changed his line through the daunting 185-mile-an-hour Eau Rouge corner after problems in practice. He didn't quite get it right though, picked up too much curb on the left, lost about 1/10 of a second, provisional pole, but he left the door open for Montoya. Both Renaults have opted for a dry setup here, so they've got good straight line speed, but they might be sliding around a little bit if it's rainy this afternoon. They're much closer to McLaren than in recent races, probably only 0.3 of a second. Alonso up the front then, with plenty of fuel in his car.
I think it's good. I think we did a good lap, but we had a little bit of more fuel than we programmed at the beginning, because we know that we are competitive here. So, you know, for the race it's looking great, I think.
It was very tight at the top end in qualifying, the top 4 cars separated by just 0.2 of a second. And what could Juan Montoya do? He'd managed only 17 laps in practice, with no running at all on Friday following an engine change. But he took his second Spa pole 4/100ths of a second faster than teammate Raikkonen. It was the first all-McLaren front row since Imola 2001.
I think we probably got the best package out here to win the race, and it'd be nice if we finally can get a 1-2 from McLaren.
Well, that was a phenomenal qualifying session. If you think about it, it's over 4 miles around this racetrack, 1 minute and 3/4 for the lap, and yet the top 4 cars separated by just 0.2 of a second. But with all this rain and mist in the air, how relevant is qualifying, do you think?
Well, it's very difficult to know, James. We've had so little dry running through this Grand Prix weekend. At least we finally saw the absolute true speed of the cars. Some of the drivers gambled on a wet Grand Prix and put a lot more downforce. Now that shows up in the middle sector of the lap during qualifying, where you really need that extra grip, but you're under pressure during the first and third sectors where it's mostly straight lines. So we may see some completely different strategies this afternoon based on that qualifying run. Difficult to read though.
Certainly is. Well, a number of people at Monza did perfect laps. Here it was the other way around, quite a lot of people making mistakes, but one guy who didn't make any mistakes at all was Jarno Trulli. What a lap, by his own admission, one of the best he's ever done.
Absolutely right. Now he is one of the drivers that took a half a wet setting out onto a dry track. Well, he should do that more often. It was a brilliant lap and the car looked like it was on rails.
So Kimi Raikkonen leaves the door open for Juan Montoya to go and grab pole. Montoya does it. Let's take a look how he managed it.
It had been spitting with rain. Montoya was not fully happy with the McLaren in free practice. Let's see what he's got underneath him now as he builds up to 180 miles an hour into the foot of Eau Rouge. He'll follow the yellow line where the other cars have been hitting the track. Did I detect a very slight lift? Nonetheless, absolutely full throttle on the top. He's still in 6th gear. There's another one to go yet. There it is, and accelerating up to about 206 miles an hour, braking 90 metres before the corner and just trying to run those rumble strips. He knows he's on the right line then. Very hard on the throttle and early too. He's feeling good grip and balance from the McLaren. The early tight line into the Rivage hairpin, and now the sweeping left-hander that'll carry him down the hill. Oh, a little bit of a swapper there. He had to correct briefly. Pouhon then. It's about 180 on the way in, 150 through the first part, then he can just stamp on the throttle, 4.5G for a long period of time, bring it to the left-hand side immediately for the Fagnes chicane. Another corner to get into early and get settled. Listen to that, now he's really feeling some grip. The first part of Stavelot, the car tends to want to run wide. He was taking a lot of curb on the inside, got away with it. Absolutely full throttle. Look at the rain clouds threatening, but the track is still dry enough. Blanchimont coming up, 190 miles an hour. He's just going to coax this with the merest turn of the steering wheel. He's thinking now about a braking point for the bus stop chicane. Bring it down to about 70 miles an hour. Those curbs have been cutting tyres badly. Remember, he has to start the race on these set of tyres, so he has to be slightly cautious. Over the line he goes, pole position, the 51st all-McLaren front row.
Tony Jardine is with me today. Tony, it was dry then, it's wet now. How much of a difference is it going to make?
Well, the trouble is the weather is so fickle. Even the Met Office has said it's going to dump gallons and gallons of fresh Spa water just to add sparkle to the race at about 2 p.m. this afternoon. These teams are all prepared for wet or dry. They've been rehearsing all the pit stops all morning long, but it's that those treacherous conditions that make it so difficult. And there is a fear factor amongst the drivers. You know, make no mistake about that.
This is a quick track, and they want to get the setup right. Yesterday, they were going with a wet setup.
Yes, some of them risk the wet setup, you know, a little bit more wing, standing the tyres up a little bit more, and if that is the case and the weather forecasters are correct, then they'll be in good shape. But some of them, as Martin said, have gambled maybe on low fuel. Within 5 or 6 laps they're going to be coming into the pits. It's a big lottery. It is a huge gamble. People going out with their
if things go wrong, they go very badly wrong in here, as in 98.
98 was horrendous. I mean, this is the sort of thing they don't want to happen. Coming through La Source and down towards Eau Rouge, getting up to 150 miles per hour. David Coulthard it was that lost it, blinded by spray, which is a massive problem. 13 cars out in this crash alone. Rubens Barrichello, surprisingly, just had a sore arm at the end of this. Most of them got back and got into their spare cars, including David Coulthard.
But the good thing from McLaren, they're at the front. There'll be less spray for them. They should be able to control this race.
Yeah. But they should be, but it's going to be tremendously difficult. They need a 1-2, 27 points behind, and Alonso only needing that 4 points. They haven't had a 1-2 since Australia in 2000.
Well, the way they line up on the grid often has no bearing how they finish the race. Take us through the grid though, Tony.
Perfect positioning as McLaren lock out the front row for the first time since San Marino 2001. Juan Pablo on pole again. Truly, he was mighty, third for Toyota, ahead of the champion in waiting, Alonso, fourth. Fifth, Ralf Schumacher, he wants points for Toyota. Sixth, his brother Michael, he wants a wet race for his Bridgestone-shod Ferrari. Seventh, Massa in great form. Eighth, Button, who had to go out early. Ninth, Webber in the Williams. 10th, Takuma Sato. 11th, Coulthard's Red Bull. He had problems pushing hard in medium corners. 12th, and disappointing for Barrichello and Ferrari. 13th, Fisichella, a 10-place engine penalty. 14th, Villeneuve. 15th, no grip for Pitsonia. 16th, Klein. 17th, a great performance from Dornbos in front of the Dutch fans. And Christian Albers, 18th. 19th and 20th, Montero and Kartikeyan for Jordan.
So Alonso lines up in fourth in his Renault. But what do we know about the champion in waiting who could beat Emerson Fittipaldi's record this weekend?
Alonso! 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 Alonso!
Some other sportsmen probably born with the talent to play tennis, and this is life.
I believe Fernando is 24 years old, but racing point of view is much older. Incredible. It's very cool. It's no pressure at all for him, and if it's the pressure, we don't see that.
Just have a sort of record in the books, I guess. Otherwise, next year nobody cares what you are.
It changes the way people respect you, So yeah, it has a big influence also on your career.
I think he was a good champion. He's doing a very good job. It's lovely to look at his interviews. I think he's a very professional guy, and he's quick.
There is a big step in Fernando, and I think what's gone on this year will give him confidence, because you build a season if you're winning a championship. It's not just winning a race, it's getting those points when things are difficult and taking advantage of situations, and he seems to have done that all the way through this year.
He's a quiet person, he's very competitive. Whatever he does, he doesn't want to lose. that is in his spirit, but as well he's a good friend.
I think Formula One is going to have a good champion, a charismatic one who smile to people and have a lot of support from Spain.
We have a very good friendship. We work together, and he's quick. He's consistent. He did a fantastic season, so I'm happy for him.
We ran him in the first test he ever did, and he was a cool customer then. He just got in the car, learnt all the switch positions, and off he went. He's never looked back since.
He's got a lot of self-confidence, but I'm sure it'll be a great relief to him, and he won't be happy with just one. I know that.
Well, let's find out a little bit about what makes Fernando so special. One of his teammates at Renault, Alan, what do you put it down to?
I think obviously he's very quick, there's no question about that, but the area that I found even at such a young age set him apart was that he had a fantastic mental ability to analyse things, and he also listened to other people's approaches. It wasn't a case of that I'm right and no one else is. He would actually listen to what the engineers would say, what the other drivers would say, and use that information. And to be honest, I don't see that too often up and down the pit lane.
Okay, turning to Spa then, in the wet. You've driven around here in sports cars in the wet many times. What do you really have to look out for? Everything.
The puddles, the rivers. That's a difficult thing. Spa's so undulating, it's up and down, that rivers and big puddles seem to accumulate in certain areas. And with the average speed being so high, if you do hit them, the car just lifts up in aquaplanes. And once it's up in the air, you can't do anything about it. I think Luizzi found that out on Friday. And that's the tricky part about it. You've got to really be fingertip stuff.
Thanks very much, Alan.
Fingertip and edge of the seat stuff. But what makes Fernando Alonso so good for you, Tony?
I think it goes a long way back to his dedication when he was young and he was karting. He went off to Italy on his own, showed that incredible determination without his family just to make his way. And as he said, the real pressure was on him then when he was karting at the top level to make it. And he said only then when he knew he could make it would the dream of Formula One become a reality eventually. He's an amazing young man.
But it's not just the determination, it's the maturity, presumably, as well, and a huge amount of skill and consistency.
He has the skill, but it's the intelligence factor. He's so cool. He's able to cope with instructions. He's able to change oil from one tank to the other in Malaysia, which was a big problem, otherwise the engine would have blown, while he's sitting there at 170 miles per hour. And yet, he's an ordinary bloke that does card tricks and supports Real Madrid.
Just like you and me.
Yeah, indeed.
How would he compare to the likes of people he might beat should he win the title this year? The Emerson Fittipaldis, the Michael Schumachers, the Niki Lauders?
Well, Emerson did it in an amazing short amount of time, and he stepped in and filled the breach when Jochen Rindt was sadly killed. Different set of circumstances here, but the way he's built up, and so I really put him down. He will never, I don't believe, beat Schumacher's record of 7 titles. That's going to be hard for anyone to beat, but I think he's going to be one of the great champions, and he's going to be a multi-champion.
Okay. Well, while Alonso obviously has the advantage in the driver's title, it's a far closer contest in the battle for the constructor's title. It's a battle between two teams, McLaren and Renault. Just 8 points separate the two, with Renault leading, of course. Remember, both McLarens line up on the front row of the grid today, and the two teams come to Spa-Francorchamps from very different angles.
This year's championship is personal. The team characters as different as their paint jobs. McLaren boss Ron Dennis, meticulous, disciplined, but prone to the effects of Formula One's emotional roller coaster. Then there's Flavio Briatore, the flamboyant playboy, nicknamed a sweater salesman when he was in charge of Benetton, but now headed for another World Championship title.
I'm quite in awe of Flavio. I've never seen anyone win so many races and know so little about racing cars.
Flavio enjoys personally reminding Ron whenever McLaren slip up during the race, and even though they're not mates, there's a respect there.
Sometimes I'm happy to see him, sometimes I'm not.
We all like to pay attention to Kimi Raikkonen versus Fernando Alonso for the Drivers' Championship, but ask the teams,
and all they care about is the constructors. Kimi's driver's title even comes as an afterthought.
We are building the brand McLaren Mercedes, and us winning the constructors is important. We feel that we have every opportunity to, and that's what we certainly intend to do, along with the drivers if we can.
The battle for third is just as keen. Just 8 points separate Ferrari and Toyota, and for the Japanese team, third in the constructors would be a triumph. Jarno Trulli is well placed for points today, also third on the Belgian grid. But rain in the race should favour Ferrari on their Bridgestone tyres.
We have 8-point gap. I think we have the third quickest package at the moment on the track. Obviously people bring new parts in the last few races, but we think we have a very good chance to fight for that position.
Our ambition is to win the championship, so we'd rather be third and fourth, but there's other priorities in terms of how we approach the rest of the season to make sure we're back to where we want to be next year.
And consider BAR, second best constructor last year. This season they'll be relegated to 6th, which means less TV money, smaller garages and a drop in prestige. Not to mention 1 place behind Williams.
Well, late last night the news came through that Red Bull is going to buy the last privately owned team, Minardi. Of course, there have been some rumours about this deal for some time. But this morning, Minardi owner Paul Stoddart confirmed the details, and we'll hear from him in a moment. But first, here's Red Bull's view on the deal.
Well, Red Bull have confirmed a deal with Minardi to purchase the team, which guarantees its future in Formula One. It will operate independently from Red Bull Racing, but provides the ideal platform for their junior drivers, the 22 drivers that they're supporting in various formulas. It's an ideal platform, for those that reach the higher echelons of Formula One.
What about the staff down at the Minardi factory in Faenza? Is the intention to keep the team down there?
Yes, I mean that's the plan certainly at the moment, and it makes a great deal of sense to do that.
And will Paul Stoddart remain involved with the team?
Paul will certainly remain involved to the end of the season, but I'll let obviously him address his future with you.
Well, here is Paul Stoddart. Paul, what does the future hold for you personally? Will you retain an involvement in the team when it's taken over by Red Bull, or bow out and concentrate on your airline business?
Well, Minardi and Formula One's still in my blood. I don't know, Lou, it's too early to say. Hopefully I might find something. I never know. It might be a job for me next year, but we'll see.
You've had 41 people approach over the last 5 years to buy Minardi. What was it convinced you that approach number 42 from Red Bull was the way to go?
I think really I said 4 years ago today, actually, after 9/11, that if ever an offer came along there, somebody could do something better for the team than I could, and they were serious people, and they would keep it based in Italy and the workforce intact, that I would sell, and that offer finally came, and I have.
Is this the end of an era as far as the privateer teams are concerned?
I think so, sadly. I mean, it's going to be, I know what it's been. I know the pain over the last 5 years. I mean, watch out for the book. It'll be a good one, and it'll tell it as it was. And basically, it's not something that I think someone's going to do again. We've seen Peter Sauber sell, we've seen Eddie Jordan sell, now you've seen me sell. Sadly, I think Formula One is moving into a new era.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Luke.
For you, Tony, is this a good thing?
It's terrible. Formula One's losing its shop steward. Who's going to fight for the minnows? Who's going to fight for the
workers?
Come on, the workers. It is a great shame, actually. It is an end of an era, because what that means, he's struggled like anything, but he's railed against, the might of the FIA, the might of the other teams to keep that thing on the rails of Minardi going. Now it's going to be properly financed. It won't be a big works team, but it's got the might of Red Bull behind it. So you're going to see the gap between the have-nots and the haves close a little bit more. The other thing is Dietrich Mateschitz now has 2 teams. He'll get 2 votes on the FIA and FOM, so he'll become an ally of Bernie Ecclestone. So I think it's good news all around, but it's sad to see the likes of him and Eddie Jordan out of the sport.
Exactly. Should we be sentimental about Minardi? This is their 20th season.
Yeah, I mean, there is a massive Minardi fan club right round the world who support, the little guy. They support the minnows. They love them. And there's room for them in the sport. Maybe more will emerge, because there's room for 2 more teams in the sport.
OK, well, you'll always find differing opinions or whether it's a good thing that Red Bull is actually going to buy Minardi. But one thing everybody agrees with here, this is a cracker of a circuit.
It's a far cry from the Royal Park in Monza or the glamorous streets of Monte Carlo, but Spa was recently voted the favourite circuit amongst Formula One fans. So what's the appeal of sitting on the edge of a forest, normally in the pouring rain, with virtually no creature comforts in sight?
It's the only place to be. It's one of the best races. It's exciting, it's
The atmosphere is really good over the whole weekend, so yeah, it's just one of the places to be, really.
It's absolutely brilliant to come to. Even on the internet, it's voted #1. So it's not just the people that come, it's the people that don't even come that rate Spa.
And it's unbelievable. You have to come here just to a Grand Prix just to feel it.
The changeable weather adds an element of risk to this track like no other, and the start is always a spectacle.
Great start by Eddie Irvine. Fielder, look at Fielder, and into the wall. Who was that?
Coulthard in the wall.
David Coulthard into the wall. They'll stop the race.
They'll have to red flag this.
Terrible. Look, this is quite appalling. This is the worst start for a Grand Prix that I have ever seen in the whole of my life.
Eau Rouge, Formula One's most revered corner, takes no prisoners. And nor does the flat-out 190-mile-an-hour Blanchimont. But Spa is a driver's track. Take the risks and reap the rewards.
Michael's having to defend, and Mika, and but the back marker's in the way. Can he do it? Yes, he's done it. A brilliant move there, either side of Zonta, and Hakkinen brilliantly takes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix.
Spa presents a unique challenge, and the drivers, well, they just love it.
Spa is my favorite track, like 80% of the drivers in Formula One, and I think this weekend we will enjoy a lot this track.
There's no question that to stake yourself up to go out on Spa is similar to staking yourself up to go out in Monaco. You know that it's a big challenge.
You need to be a little bit stupid to be quick in certain places here.
It's basically amazing. You know, everybody loves the circuit. It's going up and down. It's such a long circuit. There are fantastic corners like Eau Rouge and Radion. So it's dramatic for a driver to drive on this kind of circuit is something very special.
Well, let's take a look at the weather map. This is courtesy of Red Bull. We've just come down to their pit wall here in the pit lane, and you can see there the dark blue area. I feel like a weather person. The dark blue areas are the heavier rain, and what it says, and we've got, funnily enough, Red Bull have got designer Mark Smith up here, which not your normal job, Mark, but when does that say that it's going to rain?
Well, it's not a fully predictive thing, but it's a historical thing, and if you follow that and make your own predictions, it's probably about half hour into the race.
Half hour into the race. Well, there we go. We'll let you know when it happens, but rain is certainly coming.
It's on its way. It is a little bit dry but damp in the air at the moment. It's a demanding track, but it is very special, this circuit.
Well, it's the last great natural challenge, as Michael Schumacher said. It's the home of the brave, the home of the champions. That Hakkinen move was one of the greatest overtakes as Formula One has ever seen. The drivers love it, the spectators love it. You know, that compression through Eau Rouge and going up the other side, incidentally, where Renault had their oil problem, which is why they came here to do the shakedown test. It's just a driver's track, and truly says if you get the flow right, you imagine the buzz they get from it. We get a buzz just watching them.
But if the rain does come down, as predicted half an hour into this race, it's a completely different circuit.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, it is extremely dangerous. In the old days, we lost a lot of drivers. I mean, Sterling Mosh crashed in 1960. They didn't find him for half an hour. That's why the circuit's been truncated. But here, it's very, very difficult. In 98, towards the end of that race, the spray is such an enemy of the driver, the dread, the fear factor. Here's Schumacher going round, lapping everybody. Coulthard's been in the pits. He's in his spare car from the big crash at the beginning. And Schumacher's on three wheels, gets back to the pit, so does Coulthard. He dashes down to his pit. They try to restrain him, and he grabs Coulthard by the throat and accused him of trying to kill him. That's the sort of drama that this place can produce.
It can be dangerous, it can be dramatic, but nobody wants to lose it.
Nobody wants to lose it. No, of course they don't. But they're going to have to take risks here, because that's the only way you will be rewarded with a really good result. It's such a high-speed track. It is so demanding. You've got to go for it. If you lurk about half speed, you've had it.
Yes, well, as Tony says, this Spa circuit is very demanding indeed. On some of the corners, the drivers are pulling 4G, so they have to be fit. Well, 10 years ago, as a McLaren driver, Mark Blundell was fit. What about nowadays? No. Well, he is going to live up to the challenge of trying to get fit again and live a healthy life alongside Kimi Räikkönen.
I'm getting ready to train with Kimi Räikkönen. But before I do that, I need to go on Kimi's diet. Let's just see what a Grand Prix driver really eats.
Okay, quality nutrition is a vital part of any athlete's program. Unfortunately, it can be a minefield of misinformation, so I try and make life as simple as possible by combining a quality carbohydrate complex variety with a quality protein and essential fats in every meal.
I did used to be disciplined when I was driving competitively, but that went out the window a few years ago, as you probably noticed. Have a little look in my fridge before we start, just to see what I would have had. This would have been my normal intake. Bacon. And eggs. Oh, there looks like dinner, look. Nice cheese pizza.
Nutrition requires a disciplined approach. What we try and aim for is 5 to 6 smaller meals throughout the day, which will provide a sustained release of energy. That will start with breakfast, which would normally consist of oatmeal with fruit. We will have a quality protein such as egg or turkey with whole grain bread.
That is my breakfast. Lucky old me.
Okay, the typical Formula One race will last for around about an hour and a half. So what we're looking to do is provide energy over a longer period of time by using complex carbohydrates mixed with a quality protein and essential fats. An evening meal will be very similar to that of lunch. We may reduce some of the complex carbohydrates a little bit, being it in the evening. The other important part of the nutritional program is the vitamins, minerals and the hydration levels that we have to be aware of for the drivers, especially over a Grand Prix weekend.
It's dinner time on the Kimi Räikkönen diet, which is salmon, salad and a little bit of crab meat. I'd like to be having steak and a glass of white wine, but that's not going to happen.
I've spoken to Mark recently and I hear he's been working on his training and his nutrition quite hard, so it'll be interesting to see what he's like when he comes training with himself and Kimi.
Finishing touches. There you go. Breakfast of champions. I can't do it anymore. You can have your food, I'll have mine. See ya.
Typical. Well, you can see how Mark gets on with his fitness regime when we return in Brazil in a fortnight's time. But you don't have to wait that long to see the start of the group stages of the Champions League. Champions Tuesday kicks off at 7 o'clock on ITV2. Jim Rosenthal is in the chair for the defending champions Liverpool's first group match against Real Betis, while over on ITV1 at 7:30, Gabby hosts Chelsea's opener against Anderlecht. And a special treat after that for sports fans. Dickie Davis returns to the network to present ITV's favourite sporting moments over the past 50 years.
England, having stormed into an impressive 4-1 lead, were hauled back by the never-say die Welshman. So much so that with just 2 legs to play...
The last time I saw anything like that top lip, the whole herd had to be destroyed.
Here's my comedian next to me. The setup, we've talked about it. We're going for the wet setup. What do you think their tactics will be here at McLaren? They're 1 and 2, but how will they go for this race?
And as we said, they need a 1-2 really, really badly. I think the first thing, Angus, is they've got to try and get Kimi to swap places with Montoya. So is Montoya going to play the team game?
He hasn't this season.
I'm asking. Team orders are not allowed, but it's something that the drivers themselves have to make their mind up about. Yes, they're working together for the Constructors' Championship, but only by getting a 1-2 can they really, really have a chance of keeping Kimi's championship hopes alive. So they've got to swap places like that.
Exactly, but going into the first corner, I mean, that's crucial. We've seen in the footage from previous years how difficult it can be. I mean, what's going to happen at that first corner between those two McLaren
Well, in
drivers?
'99, David Coulthard tipped Häkkinen out of the way, and Coulthard won the race and had to apologise afterwards. Let's hope nothing like that happens at all. But what Renault have got to do is use Fisichella as their weapon. Maybe he's running light, get him up there amongst them. Certainly by the second stop, he needs to be there to interfere and mess up McLaren's plans to reduce their point scoring.
Okay. Well, other news to come out of the paddock last night was that Michelin, who've had a really checkered season, they are going to withdraw their supply for Williams and Toyota next year. So if you want to talk about that or any other questions, email us at paddock@itv-f1.com, or you can email us through the website. That's itv.com/f1. And Tony is in the hot seat this week. He'll be answering your questions as well. Competition time now. Here's Louise.
Last week we gave you the chance to win a full-size replica Ferrari steering wheel just for knowing that Felipe Massa will join Michael Schumacher at Ferrari next year. And the winner was Philip Cox from Milton Keynes. This weekend's prize comes courtesy of cartoonist Jim Bamber, who's donated this Ferrari farsuit. As you can see, it's been signed by the team's technical director, Ross Brawn, and also this set of very recognisable figurines. Jim's designed these to raise money for the Grand Prix Mechanics Charitable Trust. And here's the question you have to answer. Who has won the most Belgian Grand Prix? Is it A, Michael Schumacher, B, Ayrton Senna, or C, Jim Clark? To enter by phone, call 0901 293 2020 or text F1 followed by your answer, A, B or C, to 63337. Calls and texts cost £1 plus your standard network rate, and we need your answer by midday on Thursday.
Good luck with that. We're 20 minutes away from the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. Drama anticipated, drama expected, drama guaranteed. Welcome back. Over an hour since we had any serious rain here in Belgium. The track is relatively dry. Should make life easier, a little bit easier anyway for the drivers. Here's Louise with David Coulthard.
David, I have vivid memories of standing on this grid with you a few years back, sheltering under a tyre blanket. I mean, it was chucking down then. We're going to get wet again today, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. It's very foggy out the back, so you know, you definitely expect, the weather forecast is that it will rain at some point during the race.
This place is slippery when wet, to say the least. Do you have any concerns about it?
You're into Bon Jovi, are you? Yes, I have a great deal of concerns. It's very difficult. You saw from the GP2 race, the mini race, all the races that a lot of cars have been going off. One of the issues is the spray stays in the trees, and we just can't clear that, so visibility becomes a big issue. But it does also have the effect of sort of equaling out the cars, doesn't it? The driving skill comes to the fore, which might help you in a way. You know, I know sometimes people will say there's guys that are particularly good in the wet and all the rest of it. I still think a quick car is a quick car in the wet. It's a bit like when you talk about Monaco being a driver circuit. Well, you still have to drive all the others. So I think what happens in the wet is the teams that make good strategic decisions on tyres, the drivers that, you know, maybe tactically know how to keep out of trouble, can come forward. So I presume Michael must be feeling pretty confident going into this race. Thanks, David. Thanks.
14th on the grid for David Coulthard. Mark Webber 9th on the grid, sorry. David is 11th on the grid, of course, today, but they're all talking about when's the rain is coming.
Well, of course they are, and Mark Webber will want to make a clean start. He's had particularly difficult starts of late and been losing his nose cones, particularly at Monza in the last race. But David Coulthard was particularly nervous and slightly agitated there. That's what Spa does to you. It's the anticipation, as you've said, of this weather. We've looked at the mist, we've looked at the rain, and from where we sit, you can see it hanging in the trees. We cannot see Eau Rouge from our position in the bottom of the paddock. Visibility is a massive issue for these drivers.
It's all very well anticipating, it's dealing with it when it actually arrives.
Of course, I mean, you really are going to see 20 of the world's best drivers in probably the worst conditions. There's Rubens Barrichello walking up the grid, Michael Schumacher just ahead of him there. They will be tested to the limit. I wouldn't want to be in a Grand Prix car today for love nor money. They won't even be able to see their braking points. They won't even be able to see the cars in front of them. They'll be straining to see that red light flashing in front of them, and suddenly it will come up through the gloom. And as Alain Prost says, this circuit sorts out the men from the boys.
And we don't want to talk about carnage or anything like that, but you have to point out how difficult it can be for the drivers.
Yes, of course you do. That's Jean Todt, the team boss from Ferrari.
Would he have been disappointed with Michael's qualification? Now, would he be disappointed that they're not so strong coming here to a racetrack which is usually so strong for them?
Massively disappointed because they're only 10th in Monza. That's the first time they've failed to score points since '96.
OK, let's go down to Martin. He's on the grid now.
Thank you, Angus. Well, we've got to try and find a driver today to talk to, but it's going to be so difficult because the conditions are really changing all the time and a lot of guesstimation going on, a lot of information. I'm going to try and sneak in here, try and come in here as well, Andy, and we'll go for Fernando, who could well take the World Championship today. He's got a smile on his face, but is he going to have a quick word with us? Anything we can do here, Patrizia? Desperate to know what it's like out there on the racetrack, and he's feeding that information back. Some drivers have chosen to go with high downforce here. It's going to help them in these tricky conditions, no doubt about it. And also, when they have to move to slicks, those with more downforce can go with confidence earlier too. So at the moment they must be sitting on this grid feeling quite good, but the Renault drivers don't have that luxury. They've gone skinny, they've gone for straight line speed. They'll be able to mug people at the top of the hill when the track dries out later on, but will they be able to keep it on the road? And can we go in there now? Flav, can you organise us? We've got a few million people here desperate to talk and hear what the we'll catch you in a minute. Flav, the downforce you've got on your Renault here, is it enough to get the job done today?
You know, I don't think so. This is the problem. Our wing is very efficient, honestly, and we try doing the best. We try to keep the car in the track to finish, and this is what we try to do.
All right, you need 14 points from the last 4 races to win the championship. So how many are you going to take today? And what will you be satisfied with today?
For me, 6 or 7 is fantastic. Double of my budget.
Okay, double your budget. Let's see. We're going to come back. I'm going to find him. We'll not give up on that. We're going to sneak out of here. I don't know how you're going to get out of there, Andy. You'll have to come underneath. There we go. Let's see if we can find somebody else. Bernard, how are you doing? No, it's all right. I'm not trying to... No, you look nervous there. So, great season of motor racing. We could see the youngest ever world champion today.
Well, I hope not today. I hope in Japan. But I think I'm going to be wrong.
All right, yeah. So you'd like to see it right, go of course right to the end of the year for the show. But you must be really pleased with how it's gone this year.
It's gone very, very well, and it's good. We're in Spa with the rain and everything. It's all tradition.
It's kind of guaranteed, isn't it? Who's your money on today? You're normally pretty accurate on all this kind of thing.
I think Michael's going to be a big shot. The Bridgestone and big if it rains. But I think we've got to put our money on Kimi.
You're going to put your money on. Sorry, I'm messing around. I've lost all sound here, but I've got it back again now, so I'm holding the microphone in the wrong place. Your money's on Kimi today. So we've seen some horrendous shunts this morning. Minis tearing the racetrack down. I mean, do you think it's dangerous here or what?
No, not at all. Not at all. As I was saying before you lost your sound, I think Michael will be a big shock today to everybody. To be back to the old Michael, I think.
Yeah, he could be the man in these conditions.
He certainly could be.
All right, thank you very much. Let me see if we can find Button, because Alonso doesn't appear to be game on. Has he gone? Yeah, he's gone anyway. So let's wander down. Jensen is down in 8th place. How are you, Mick? You all right? And Jensen apparently is also getting in the car. The problem they've got is they're trying to work out, are they going to start this race on intermediate tyres or the wets? When will they be going to the slicks? This is what they're trying to discuss. Let's have a quick word with Felipe. We're desperate at trying to find a driver who can tell us what's the track like. Is there any standing water?
No standing water, but it's wet. So for sure, maybe everyone will start with intermediate tyres.
So you think it's an intermediate. Now, what's your weather forecast? I'm hearing there's going to be no more rain, but we've got other teams saying there will be rain. What do you understand?
Yeah, maybe it can rain. As far as I know, maybe it can rain more to the end of the race. So, but we see. I mean, here you can never predict, so it can rain every time.
And if it doesn't rain anymore, how quickly do you think you'll be in for slick tyres?
Well, I mean, always when you have 20 cars running, it's quicker. But I mean, maybe it will take more than 6 laps, I think.
More than 6 laps. Okay, we're going to go back to Angus.
Thanks, Martin. Well, Fernando Alonso keeping Martin waiting. He's not even world champion yet. What's he going to be like when he is world champion? But importantly for Alonso, it's his second drive with this engine, and he'll want to protect it.
Indeed. He worked the engine very, very hard at Monza. They did a chase at the end. Here, they use the engine guide from here on the dyno, as this is one of the toughest circuits on engines. It's punishing for engines. And we already know they had an oil problem from last year when the oil spread out on the back of the tyres when he was leading and out he went. Because when they go through Eau Rouge and come up the other side, negative G lifts all the fluids to the top and can aerate the oil. That is what Renault have been worried about. That's why they came here and did a shakedown test to make sure that the engine was all okay. But it's done one big race. It's got to do another race now. They're going to have to err on the side of caution unless they know much, much better than us, which is why they've already changed Fisichelle's engine as a precaution.
Finishing will be the most important thing for Alonso and his team as they prepare for the Belgian Grand Prix here in Spa. They're waiting to crown a new world champion, and he wants to stop him.